Before the bright lights of America's Got Talent, before Simon Cowell's face changed forever, there was only a boy in the streets of Cebu. Every morning as the sun slowly climbed above the rooftops, the city of Cebu woke up to noise, jeepneys honking, vendors shouting, footsteps rushing to work. But for one young boy, mornings didn't mean school bells or breakfast at the table. They meant survival. He slept on a piece of cardboard near a closed sorry store, wrapped in an old jacket that once belonged to someone else. The concrete beneath him was cold at night and burning hot during the day. When rain came, there was no roof, only corners, doorways, and prayer. This was home. The boy was barely 10 years old. He didn't remember his father. Some said he left. Some said he never returned from the sea. His mother worked when she could, washing clothes, selling small items, doing anything to earn a few pesos. But there were days she came home empty-handed, eyes tired, voice quiet. On those days, the boy knew he had to help, so he sang. Not because he wanted applause, not because he dreamed of fame. He sang because music bought food. At busy intersections, he stood barefoot, holding a battered tin can. Cars stopped. People stared. Some ignored him completely. Others rolled down their windows just enough to drop a coin. But when he sang, something changed. His voice didn't sound like a child who grew up hungry. It sounded like pain, strength, and soul. He first discovered Elvis through an old broken radio that a neighbor threw away. At night, when the city slowed down, he would twist the dial until music crackled through the static. One night, a deep, powerful voice came through. "Can't help falling in love." The boy froze. He didn't understand English well, but he felt the song, the emotion, the sadness and hope wrapped together. From that night on, Elvis became his escape. He memorized every note, every rise and fall, copying the sound over and over until it felt like his own. Under streetlights, with no microphone and no audience that truly listened, he practiced. People laugh sometimes. Why sing foreign songs? Who do you think you are? But the boy kept singing. Because when he sang, he wasn't poor. When he sang, he wasn't invisible. When he sang, the streets disappeared. There were nights when hunger twisted his stomach so badly he could barely stand. Nights when drunk strangers shouted at him. Nights when police chased street kids away like they were problems, not children. Still, he sang. His voice became known in his small area. Vendors would say, "That boy sings like he's lived a lifetime." Tourists stopped longer than usual. Some filmed him on old phones. One woman cried while listening and pressed a folded bill into his hand. But when the song ended, reality always returned. Coins clinked. Feet walked away. The street remained. Deep inside, he carried a secret dream, one he barely dared to believe. He dreamed of a stage, not a big one, just a place where people would actually listen. Sometimes, while staring at reflections in shop windows, he imagined bright lights above him and silence in front of him. Not the ignoring kind, but the listening kind. He imagined judges, seats, and applause he had only seen on TVs inside electronics shops. America's Got Talent. He had watched clips through store windows whenever the show played. He didn't understand everything, but he understood one thing clearly. People like him sometimes got a chance. Still, it felt impossible. He didn't have money. He didn't have connections. He didn't even have shoes. But fate has a strange way of finding voices meant to be heard. One afternoon, a local volunteer group heard him sing. They stopped. Really stopped. Not just for a moment, but long enough to look at him, talk to him, and ask his name. When he sang Elvis for them, the street went quiet. They exchanged looks. "This voice shouldn't stay here," one of them whispered. Weeks later, things started to move fast, too fast for the boy to understand. Papers, conversations, a borrowed phone showing him videos of auditions, people telling him words like international, America, opportunity. The night before leaving Cebu, he couldn't sleep. The streets were quieter than usual. He sat on the same cardboard he had slept on for years and sang softly, not for money, not for people, but for himself. His voice trembled for the first time, not from hunger, but from fear. What if they laugh? What if Simon Cowell hates it? What if this dream breaks him? He looked at the stars barely visible through city lights and made a promise. I will sing like this is my last chance. Because for kids like him, it usually is. And as dawn broke over Cebu, the boy who once sang to survive was about to sing for the world, without knowing that one performance would change his life forever. The stage was bigger than anything he had ever imagined. As the boy from Cebu stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage, the lights hit him like the sun, bright, blinding, unforgiving. For a moment, he couldn't see the judges. All he could see was a sea of darkness beyond the lights, thousands of faces hidden in silence. His heart pounded so loudly he was afraid the microphone might pick it up. This was not a street corner. This was not Cebu. This was America. Behind the curtain just moments earlier, he had stood frozen, clutching the microphone with hands that had known hunger more than comfort. His borrowed shoes felt heavy. His clothes were simple, slightly too big but clean. Someone had brushed his hair, told him to stand tall, told him to breathe. Just sing, they said. As you always do. But this felt different. On the streets, people walked away. Here, everyone was watching. Simon Cowell sat at the center of the judges' table, arms crossed, expression unreadable. He had seen thousands of singers. Good, bad, forgettable. To him, this was just another audition. A small boy walked out. Another emotional story. Another risk of disappointment. Simon raised an eyebrow. The boy took a deep breath. What's your name? A judge asked gently. He answered softly, his voice almost swallowed by the space. When he said he was from Cebu, Philippines, the audience murmured. When he said he used to sing on the streets, the room grew quiet. Simon leaned forward slightly. And why are you here? Simon asked. The boy swallowed hard. Because singing is the only thing I have, he said. No drama, no rehearsed speech, just truth. Simon nodded once, still unsure. Whenever you're ready, Simon said. The music began. No flashy intro, no backing vocals, just a simple instrumental and a boy standing alone. The first note came out gentle, controlled, steady, then the second. By the third line, something shifted. The boy didn't sing like a child. He sang like someone who had lived. His voice carried weight, deep, emotional, trembling with a pain that couldn't be taught. Every word of the Elvis song felt personal, as if he wasn't covering a legend, but telling his own story. The audience leaned forward. Judges exchanged glances. Halfway through the song, Simon Cowell's posture changed. His arms uncrossed. His face tightened, not in anger, but in focus. He had heard this song countless times. He had never heard it like this. The boy closed his eyes as he reached the chorus. His hands shook, but his voice didn't. It soared, not loud, but honest. The kind of voice that doesn't ask for permission to be felt. The theater was completely silent. No coughing, no whispering, no movement. Even the cameras seemed to slow down. Simon's eyes locked onto the boy. His expression softened. The skepticism, the shield he always wore, started to crack. This wasn't a trick, this wasn't editing, this wasn't luck, this was real. As the final notes approached, the boy remembered the streets, the hunger, the nights he sang to strangers who never stopped. He sang like he was back there, except this time the world was listening. The last note hung in the air. For a split second there was nothing. Then, the room exploded. The audience jumped to their feet. Cheers thundered through the theater. Judges stood in shock. One covered their mouth. Another wiped away tears. The boy stood frozen, unsure if he had done something wrong. Simon Cowell didn't clap at first. He just stared. His eyes were glossy. His mouth slightly open. For once, he didn't have words ready. When he finally stood, the applause grew even louder. Simon walked closer to the desk, leaning forward as if trying to understand what had just happened. I've heard this song my entire life, Simon said slowly, and I can honestly say, I've never heard it sung like that. The boy's lips trembled. You didn't just sing, Simon continued. You told us who you are. The boy nodded, tears welling up. This, Simon said, pausing as the audience held its breath, is why this show exists. The boy's knees nearly gave out. The streets of Cebu felt 1,000,000 miles away. The cardboard bed, The tin can, the hunger, all of it collided with this moment. Bright lights, applause, and a judge who had just been changed by a voice born in hardship. As confetti machines stood silent and golden buzzers untouched, for now, the boy realized something incredible. He was no longer invisible. And Simon Cowell knew it. The audition didn't just introduce a singer to the world, it introduced a truth. Talent doesn't come from comfort, it comes from survival. And as the judges prepared to vote, one thing was already clear. This performance had crossed a line. There was no going back.